Let's record this. Hey, welcome to Faith and Calm. This is class number 210. Interesting number. Okay, 210. So we're coming up on Gimel Tammuz, and I thought I would say some things related to that, but I'm still talking about the parsha from last week. I think there was something there that was really changes your perspective and the way you look at the world a little bit. So I always love those sichas, and this is one of them. And I think it's pretty compact and digestible too. So hopefully I'll be able to explain it that way. We know that last week's parsha was Shlach, sent the spies. Moshe sent the spies. God didn't send the spies. Moshe sent the spies. And Shlach L'cha. And it wasn't a good situation. And they did some, they made some of their own extrapolation and beyond what they were supposed to do, and got the Gentiles in trouble, and they got the Jews in trouble. And there's a dialogue between Moshe and God at that point in time. Now, Rashi doesn't comment on it. The Rebbe points out, Rashi usually, if there's something that's like thrown in the middle of your face, you know, that a 5-year-old would ask a question on, you usually see Rashi, you always see Rashi, but he says, always Rashi will address it. He will not let a simple question go past you, or at least he will say, I don't know, or he expects you to figure it out from something he said earlier, but he will say something earlier, or something I don't know, or he will answer it. And there's a question here. Let's see if we can figure out the question. God tells Moses, I can't deal with these people anymore. Over and over, again and again and again. How long do I have to deal with these people? I'll wipe them out. I'll cause a pestilence. I'll wipe them all out, and I'll start over with you. And Moshe objects. And Moshe says, you know, the Egyptians are going to hear about this and that you wiped out your people here in the wilderness. And the nations of the world are all going to say, you know, it wasn't because they did something bad. It's because God didn't have the ability to actually bring them into the land of Israel. Anybody hear a question here? You want me to help you? You have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. So God's going to care that he has bad PR?
Basically.
What's the question?
The question is, why isn't Rashi asking a question? God says, I'm wiping out all the Jews. Moshe says, you know what? The Egyptians are going to hear about it, and it's going to be...
bad PR.
Well,
so the question is, why doesn't Rashi comment about...
Why doesn't Rashi say, this is a very strange dialogue here, you know? First off, God, if a human being was going to kill off a couple million people would want a better answer than, I'm doing it for public relations. I don't want the rest of the world saying...
Right, it's true. Right.
Okay, that's the way the Rebbe says it. Secondly, not only that, but this is God. He loves the Jewish people. He cares about the Jewish people. He brought them out of Egypt. He's his children. How can he possibly do it? And Moshe, he's been always arguing for the Jewish people. He can't bring an argument, don't kill them. I mean, that's the main thing. You should say first, God, don't kill them. You love them, don't kill them. If you want to add in, it's also bad PR, put it number 2. But but not number 1, and not even mention the other one. And by the way, not so much earlier with the Chet HaEgel, with the golden calf, the same story comes up. God also says, I'm going to wipe them out. Moses first says, they're your children. Don't kill them. Don't do it. Don't. And then he adds the secondary, and the Egyptians will also get the wrong message. But that's number 2. Here, he brings number 2. He doesn't even bring number 1. Now that is the question. And so Rashi says, it's sticking in the middle of your face. I mean, this is not... Let's make it more exaggerated. I mean, it's just like, I can't deal with these people anymore. This is not a human being. This is Hashem. And Hashem is saying, I've had it up to here again and again and again. Forget it. It's over. That's it. Goodbye. All right. That's, and then we don't ask the question means that we're not paying attention to the parsha and we're not getting the lesson. And we're not really hearing it, because we shouldn't be asking such a question, because you just don't go, well, okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense, and so forth. No, you got the wrong God. That's not a loving God. God, by the way, is the source of all love. In the prayers we say, Avas Olam Ahavtanu, and God loves us with a love of the whole world, literally the world, internal love. So Chassidus explains it means that, a mother loves her child, a father loves his child, husbands love their wives. That, and if you add up all the love in the world of all the people to each other, you know what? It doesn't come to a drop to the source of all the love, which is what God is, because all love was created by God, and therefore all this love is coming from Him. Therefore, His love is greater than everything else. So if you want a definition of God, it's love. He loves everyone. He loves you to pieces. So this idea that we're comfortable with, this idea of a vindictive God, an vengeful God, and a God who gets angry and who loses it and says, I've had it with these people, that means we're projecting onto Him, and we're projecting a false view of the world. And that's the first message from the Sikha. The second, but the question still remains. What is God saying, and what is Moshe answering him? And the Rebbe says it all hinges on one word. When Moshe says, don't kill them, he says, if you would shecht all the people here, then what would the Egyptians say? And he uses the word shecht. And shechting, we know, means for shechting animals. You don't shecht people. In fact, the term shecht is only used in two places about people. One was by the Akedah, by Yitzchak, and the other is here. The Rebbe says that word is the clue to everything going on here. First, we have to understand what shechting is. Shechting doesn't mean killing. We don't kill animals because we hate animals. We don't kill animals just because we need something to eat. When we shecht, it means mashach, it means to draw, to bring it to a holier place. It's an animal, and when you shecht it, it becomes prepared and available to be food and to become part of a human being. In other words, you're taking it from the realm of animal to the end of medaber, of human being. That is an elevation. The animal is happy about it. It's a bit better than living an empty life, just wandering around eating the grass. I actually became part of a Shabbos meal. I had a purpose in life.
I became part of a Jew.
I became part of a Jew. That is a better way of understanding what shechting is. So in that case, now we understand a little bit of what happened with Yitzchak. Yitzchak, God wasn't saying, I'm killing off Yitzchak. He said, I'm shechting him. I'm going to draw him up to heaven. And Avraham said, okay, shechting, that sounds okay. Go back to a higher place. And that is also what Moshe heard what God wanted to do. Not that he wanted to wipe out the Jewish people. He was basically saying the following, many before with a Chet Egel, they could do tshuva and they could improve. And I was expecting them to improve. But now it's over and over and over again. And I see that they basically are stuck in this attitude and they ain't getting out of it. And therefore, the nicest thing for them is not to continue to be living a life where they're complaining and kvetching and basically ungrateful and not interested in living, because life is just terrible. And I wish I was somewhere else. You know what? Let's start over again. God says, I'm going to be nice to you. I love you. Let's bring up to Shemayim, and you'll see what the point of the whole world was. And you'll get cleansed up and you'll be ready to come back down again. So, and by the way, this isn't the first time in history that happened. Avraham Avinu, God saw that it wouldn't be good for him to live an extra 5 years. He was supposed to live 180 years. He took them to heaven a little earlier, not as a punishment. Death is not a punishment. It was to take him and to save him the problem of having to suffer for another 5 years.
Seeing
Asa was going
to go off the comeback.
And as Rabbi Simon Jacobson explains often, he says, we have to understand that death is life. The soul and the body can be compared to like the refrigerator. Have I done this one before? It's always cute.
Yes.
So I'm sure I have. Imagine the stupid discussion between the refrigerator and the electricity, and the refrigerator is saying, "You're a nothing. You really don't do anything. You can't be measured or anything. I am the thing. I keep the food cold. Why don't you just go away?" The electricity says, "Fine, go unplug yourself. I'll be still around." The electricity just goes back to where it came from again. It doesn't die. It doesn't disappear. It continues to go. But the refrigerator, when it's not infused with the soul, with the electricity, then it doesn't do anything. So, the body and the soul cannot die. The soul is eternal. The soul is forever. And that was what Moshe was saying, basically, was, don't, yeah, you can, if you're going to draw them up to heaven, that's okay. But you have a problem. And that is, you're saying that the whole reason is that, they're not having faith. They're not having faith in God. They're not having emunah. They're not having trust. And therefore, we have to do something for the Jews. Yes, if you do that, but what's going to happen with the rest of the world? They're going to get the exact opposite message. They won't have any faith at all, because they will basically say, you made a promise, and you were going to bring the Jews into Israel, and you weren't able to do it. So I don't believe your promises. I don't believe in you, God. I don't think you can do what you want to do. And that's what Moshe was saying. Moshe was saying that it's going to ruin the whole mission of not only for the Jews, but for the non-Jews, that they're supposed to do mitzvahs, they're supposed to be elevated, and they will lose it because you could have just taken the Jews into Israel and then killed them there, and then you would have fulfilled your promise, and it would have seemed like a punishment for them. But this way, not bringing them into the land of Israel at all, shechting them in the midbar, as the Rebbe says, in the wilderness, that is a sign that you don't really have the ability to bring them into the land of Israel. And therefore, the Rebbe says the lesson from all of this is an important lesson for us when we look at another Jew who's suffering, when we're suffering and so forth. You can't tell them that, okay, it's all nice, when you're just being shechted, bringing up to the higher world. That's not nice. But it also is, but there's a realization of the fact that God is never being cruel to us. Sometimes it feels very difficult, and it is hard, and it is not understandable, and I don't understand sometimes what people are going through, and I don't envy them at all, and I don't know how to help them sometimes, other than just to be there for them. But on the other hand, whatever it is, we have to know that that doesn't change the definition of God as good, and therefore it's going to be, can change in an instant from whatever it seems to be difficult to what's good. And therefore, when we look at the other person and when we treat other Jews this way, and when we lift up another Jew and we say, you know what, it's definitely going to turn out well. I am crying for you now, but I know that there's a God. He's good. He cares for you. He's the source of all the good in the world. That not only helps that person, but it helps the non-Jew. And the non-Jew sees what a Jew really is. A Jew can suffer and go through what a tremendous pain, and they look at us and they admire us and they think we're fantastic, and they can't believe for all this history how much suffering we've gone through, and we're still going through it, and we're still around, and they congratulate us. And my wife is going to have a nice little video to be able to show you that, and you'll be able to appreciate how much that they actually feel for us deep down inside, because they're just in awe of us. They have an issue with God sometimes, but that's a difference. This resilience of the Jewish people, and the resilience that we have inside of ourselves, and the resilience that we know that God is good, and it's all turning out, it's all being done for our sake and for a good sake. That is something very special, and that is where we're at today. So I'll hand over the microphone to my wife, and she'll inspire us. How about that? Any questions on this? Hearing no questions, as we say in the conferences in the government. In that case, I think I will give you back your the rest of your day. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful Air Force Day.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions before I begin? No. Okay, good. So I'm going to begin with the 4 things that we usually say. Number 1, we're in an extraordinary time. And we know this, I know this, because the Lubavitcher Rebbe said that he told us that we are in the unfolding of the redemption. And everything that the Rebbe said, every public pronouncement that the Rebbe said came true. So this one is also coming true. The second thing is that our souls were handpicked to be in the world at this time, at this exciting time in human history. Number 3, we have all the tools we need. We have the Torah, and we have the mitzvahs, which are our power tools. And number 4, what we're doing tonight, learning about Mashiach and redemption actively, is the thing that speeds it up the most. That speeds up the complete revelation of Mashiach and the complete revelation of the good stuff that's coming. So anyway, the title of this class was Who Wants the Jews to Win? Everybody. Don't despite what you see in that, that's the truth. Not despite what you may read or see on in the so-called press. Okay, so do non-Jews want the Jews to win? Is that true? Do they really? What is anti-Semitism? Why is it? And what's underneath it? So first of all, I saw a little clip from Rabbi Paltiel today. And Rabbi Paltiel, his name is Rabbi Yossi Paltiel. He has a site called InsideChassidus.com. He's also on YouTube. And he was saying that the first thing I've heard many times from everybody. Everybody says the first thing, but the second thing I never heard. The 2 greatest anti-Semites of our recent history since 1900. The 2 biggest anti-Semites were, of course, Hitler and Stalin. And what was the nature of Hitler's anti-Semitism? This one is well known because Hitler wrote it himself in his book, Mein Kampf. What is this? What did he think of the Jews? Terrible thing. You know what he thought about the Jews? He said the Jews are the conscience of the world. They have morals, they have a conscience, they say things are not allowed, that you can't just do whatever you feel like, and therefore they must be eliminated. So not such a terrible thing to think about the Jews, but terrible from his point of view, because he didn't want anybody, he wanted the human being to have total ability to do whatever they want, not that they have to bow down to the statutes of a higher being. That was anathema to him. And the second anti-Semite that's very interesting, Stalin, what was his, he killed more Jews, I believe, than Hitler, many more Jews. And I believe. And what did Stalin not like about the Jewish people? Stalin felt that the Jewish people were nonconformists. They don't bow to another authority. They're nonconformists. And that was anathema for communism, because in communism, everybody has to bow down to communism. They have to, if you didn't do it, that was the end of your life. So even the greatest anti-Semites of our age, the things that they thought about the Jews were not too terrible. So anyway, they just hated Jews and they wanted to get rid of them. Their methods were horrible. Okay, now, what about, so throughout human history, since, even in Egypt, but especially since the giving of the Torah, I think it says somewhere in our sources that anti-Semitism was born at the giving of the Torah, because non-Jews didn't like the idea that there's a being that is limiting their ability to do whatever they want. Other gods, like the gods that were invented by man, they don't do that. in the prevalent one of the prevalent religions of our time, all you have to do is love, and then you can do whatever you want. And
Can I interrupt and
yeah,
ask a question?
yeah.
Why were the Jews limiting what they were allowed to do? They could do it, they could still do what they wanted. There were no Jewish, there wasn't Jewish supervision over them.
I don't know what you're saying. Can you say it again?
You said they didn't like the Jews because it prevented them from doing the things that they wanted to do, but there was no legislation or laws
Just
that
the
said that.
knowledge that there are people who say that this is not allowed. I don't want, don't, they wanted to kill us because we said things were not allowed. It's not that the Jews went with a whip over
Yeah,
their
but so what? What they, nothing that it's
annoying,
carried out that.
annoying.
Well,
What they weren't
nobody wants to
telling,
feel
For
guilty.
example,
they weren't, but they weren't saying, they were saying the Jews shouldn't do things. They weren't talking, they weren't saying the non-Jews shouldn't do anything.
no,
If someone
They never
felt
had any,
not at all
they
true.
never,
I disagree also. They felt
Excuse me.
guilty. They felt so guilty.
And also, at
there
Har
was no
Sinai, it wasn't just rules
law
for
saying
Jews.
that they had to
At
do
Har
anything.
Sinai, at Har Sinai, the 7 mitzvahs b'nai Noach for the whole world were given at Har Sinai, and that's why anti-Semitism.
I didn't think they were all standing there.
They're not standing there, but this is whatever. That there are
Can I
rules.
ask you a question? Sorry.
I'll
Let's
have-
say someone, like, you're in a group of people, or everybody has their own area, and someone says, "What? You do that? That's horrible. That's so immoral. That's evil. That's rude. That's bad." You didn't think of it like that, and suddenly it makes sense. Yeah, it's pretty horrible to have incest. Yeah, it is pretty horrible to, like, sleep with an animal or things like that, right? And before that, you didn't think it was so bad. Or, like, oh, you would let someone just die next to you. You wouldn't actually give them water, like basic things, the Torah. And then someone makes you feel kind of guilty for not doing it. You realize, oh, that is kind of terrible. But so, like, I feel like at that point, you wouldn't say, well, I don't care what you do. You have guilt now living inside of you, you know?
Yes,
You seem a little preoccupied. Maybe you don't like what I'm saying, or you're busy, or do you hear me? Or
Me? Sure, I do.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
listening. I'm listening. Yeah,
I don't know if you're being argumentative because you want to get to a deeper
No,
place,
I'm not an
but I feel like it
person.
is common sense. Like, what do
No,
you think?
it is, but I don't think that they were there. I don't think they were there behind Sinai that they knew about that.
sorry. Okay, they know that the Jews have certain standards. And what happened at
Even
Har
in
Sinai?
Egypt,
What happened at Har Sinai crossed the world, the entire world. Remember the whole thing.
Yeah, so I don't remember it.
Yeah.
they were always different since Abraham.
Yes.
The first Jew, Abraham, was already different, and in Egypt, the Egyptians didn't like them because they were different.
Think about today, just today. Today, God forbid somebody should say that gay is bad. God forbid. You can be terrible things will happen to you. It's like not allowed. Absolutely not allowed. Why? Why don't they just feel, laws have changed. They can do whatever they want. But no, if you say something bad about that, forget it. It's going to be big trouble for you because people don't like other people thinking that something is wrong with their.
No, so I understand that concept. I just didn't know that the Jews felt threatened by them. I know Amalek had problems with them when they were coming out of.
Yes.
I don't remember what problems that Amalek specifically had,
Yes.
but didn't know that, like,
Amalek was born from incest, right? That's his origin. Judaism says incest is not a cool thing.
why is it saying high F?
Okay. Anyway, let's continue.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So,
And we also remember that Esav hated Yaakov.
yes.
And we are all Bnei Yisrael. Yisrael is Yaakov.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, anti-Semitism has been the norm throughout history. Since the dawn of Judaism, anti-Semitism has been the norm. And the basic reason is that people hated a God that said that there's something you can do and something that you can't do. And they didn't want a God that gave rules. But after after pursuing false gods for thousands and thousands of years, everybody is now hungry. The world is a different place. Yeah, you still hear a lot of rhetoric, but all the false gods have proven worthless, and everybody is hungry, and and have already they've come to the conclusion that they are not God, and the things that they worship are not God, and I and many of them feel that the Jews know something. The Jews know something, and so I already told you that that I already told you my you know uh, the they want like the non-Jews want something from us, and they know we know something, and they want something from us. That's why it's a big deal. The Rebbe made a big deal about spreading the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach, the 7 Noachide laws. I do it. My friends do it. When we're in a taxi, we give them a card explaining the 7 laws, and because this is what the world is hungry for. So I already told you, so I won't tell it again, or maybe I'll just go over it briefly. I already told you the amazing story about my dear friend Abigail, who was not in the subway itself, but in the subway station underground, under Crown Heights, and waiting in the ticket line, and a very big guy with bulging muscles all over started picking on 2 rabbinic students. They were wearing the black hat, the black outfit, the whole 9 yards. And he was teasing them and calling them names. And he's like huge and they're small. And it was quite a frightening thing. And nobody said a word because everybody was afraid. And everybody was afraid. And then my friend Abigail, who is my height, gets out of line, goes up to this big giant and yells at him, "I bet you don't even know that there are 7 laws that God gave all mankind. You are so," I think she used the word stupid. She really did. And she said, "You don't even know that God said that you're not allowed to do this, and you're not allowed to do that. I bet you don't even know that God said you have this law, and God said you have this law, and God said you have this law, and this law, and this law. You probably don't even know that." And his eyes opened wide, and he turned around and scampered off through the subway station, yelling out, "I love the Jews. I love the Jews. I love the Jews." And just the other day, I have a friend. She's extremely idealistic, and extremely idealistic, and I think she gets into trouble. And somebody invited her onto a some kind of, it's not a WhatsApp, it's something similar to a WhatsApp, and with where people discuss all sorts of things, like really all sorts of things, and they know who she is. They know that she's religious, that she's Jewish and religious, and they got her into and they got her into a discussion. All these like 5 people herding around her. I mean, but on the internet, and she gave it to them. She uh, she gave them a compendium of why there are the 7 laws for all mankind, and what they are, and like and she said she never spoke as well in her life. It just came out like whoa, because Hashem helped her, and they were all listening. They were hungry. They were all listening. They had called her names. They had called her everything under the sun, but they all listened and they were interested. Anyway, this so and you know there's a this is going to become more the norm and the norm, until the point that the non-Jews are going to help us. They're going to help us. That's what it says in Torah. The non-Jews are going to help us. Everybody's going to return to the ways of God, and the non-Jews are going to help us. They're going to help us with going back to Israel. They're going to help us with, just like Russia helped the Jews, turned, it's the classic example in our time. It turned 180 degrees from being the most oppressive place in the world for Jews to actually facilitating and helping pay for them, for the emigration to Israel, and allowing Jews to set up Chabad houses all over the place, and summer camps for Jewish kids in Russia. they koshered the Kremlin when they invited all these things. It's crazy stuff. But we're going to see more of that crazy stuff all over because the world is hungry. And the world is hungry for the truth. And so when a person is hungry for the truth, very often it doesn't come out in such nice language. Like if you think about your friends and your relatives, and the ones who are the most offensive, like I'm an Orthodox Jew, the ones who are the most offensive about my being an Orthodox Jew, they're the ones that their neshama in them is beating them up. It's a very good sign. When somebody is offensive to you because you're a Jew, it's a sign that their soul is not asleep. Their soul is knocking them around and wants them to find something. So, anyway, I want to, there's where, that's interesting. Maybe I have to I don't see it anywhere. He took it away. Very interesting. I wanted to share a video. Let's see if I can find it. Share screen. And here it is. Okay. This is friends of Jews are popping up everywhere. Japan is incredible, has incredible friends of Jews. Now I'm going to pick this one. Oh, but I didn't share. Oh, I am. Your screen share is loading. Okay. And, okay, good. Now, can you see this guy? Nod your head if you can see this guy. Shayna, can you see this guy? Okay, I'm just going to play it. And
Yes. Sorry.
okay, good. Okay, good.
Or do you hear me? I don't know if you. I was trying to push.
Now you're unmuted. Now you're unmuted.
Oh,
Now.
okay. Yes. Yeah. I see the man and I see the video. Is this the most pro-Israel village?
Yes, exactly.
This is the most pro-Israel county in Norway.
I'm not going to play the whole thing. These are non-Jews in Norway.
Imagine this, every other house proudly displays the Israeli flag and stars of David, showing unwavering support for Israel. And it's not just about the symbols, it's about the strong bond that this community has with Israel.
Okay, don't look at the sign.
Sokndal is a small county in Norway, and its residents are Christian who firmly stand with Israel. It's a testament to the power of faith and resilience to stand with the Jewish nation who is over 3,000 kilometers away from this amazing green county.
This way is Jerusalem, and every morning and every evening I stand and I pray and bless Jerusalem, Israel, and Jude. This is a blessing for me.
In a world where Israel often faces criticism and hostility, Sokndal shines as a beacon of support and solidarity. This county knows the truth, that Israel is a land of freedom, democracy, and resilience, that it's not the problem, but the solution.
First of all, we are taught to love the people of the Bible and God's chosen people who gave us the Bible, who gave us the Messiah, and who gave us also good values and good morals,
The people of Sokndal understand that Israel is not just a country, it's a promise, a sanctuary, a beacon of hope for Jews and Christians alike. Israel's history is rich and deeply significant. It's the birthplace of the Jewish people, the land where the Bible came to life, and the site of many pivotal moments in human history, from the ancient kingdoms of David and Solomon to the modern state founded in 1948. Israel's story is one of survival, innovation, and faith. And despite facing numerous wars, relentless criticism, and terrorist attacks, Israel not only survived, but thrived. Israel stands as the only democracy in the Middle East, a region plagued by tyranny and conflict. It's a land where Jews, Christians, and Muslims can live and worship freely, Israel's contributions to science, technology, and culture
How can I get
are
off?
remarkable for such a
no.
small nation.
Uh-huh.
It's a country that turns deserts into blooming fields and innovates in.
Okay. I'm going to stop share now. Okay, good. So
That was so cool.
you never saw it before? Yeah.
Never. That was so cool to see him. Like, it's almost like he's facing Mizrach. I'm davening for the Jews and for Israel. Wow.
Baruch Hashem. So, so I want to just say, what
They wouldn't officially, they're not officially Sheva Mitzvah Noach. They just happen to be a group of Christians who love
probably,
Israel,
but
understand.
I'm sure somebody is giving them the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach because
Uh-huh.
they're so open, and in general,
Okay.
people are receptive to the Sheva Mitzvahs B'nai Noach. I give them out, I should give them out even more, but I do give them out. We have them right at our front door in case somebody comes. We have, and if I'm shopping, I take them with me wherever I go. So because the world is hungry, and the Rebbe says they're going to help us, and they are starting to help us, just like communist Russia flipped and started helping the Jews. So too, the whole world is going to flip and start helping the Jews. And I think that maybe, I don't know if maybe it even has something to do with anti-Semitism, but a very powerful thing that we can do is to start loving ourselves. If you want the world to love you, it's a very important thing to start loving yourself. And I had a big Nisayan a very big trial last week, a very difficult thing that happened. And I kept expecting, I was waiting for Hashem to show his hand. I was waiting for, whatever. And when did my salvation come? Right after I shared my troubles with somebody else. Because at first I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell anybody what was going on with me for 4 days. I didn't tell anybody. And then I thought, this is too much already. Shalom Yehudas, you got to share this. And as soon as I shared it, the phone rang, and the phone rang, and I got the good news that I was waiting for. And I think it was a sign to me that as Jewish women, we're very, very good at helping the world, at helping our friends, at doing good, doing mitzvahs left and right. But sometimes there's a shortage in taking care of yourself in significant ways. And what are the significant ways? I always, I like to say, not significant ways are not by going out and buying yourself a diamond tiara, but by giving yourself the sleep you need, giving yourself the food that you need, and when necessary, giving yourself the friendship that you need by calling somebody, by doing something for yourself. So we're women, and we have a need for socializing. So anyway, I think it's a step towards killing anti-Semitism when you start loving yourself. And with that, I would like to end. And
You'll be very proud of me that this past week, since we spoke last class, I have been getting more sleep. I took it for real, and I said it's just what I needed to hear. I think one of the nights this past week I think at least 2 nights this past week I got a full 8 hours. So and I felt great. I felt clear. I felt like I wasn't losing time. I was able to make better decisions, and like my head was clear, and I wasn't running for a cup of coffee,
yes,
So yeah.
it's awesome. And also, you feel if you do something that you need, like if you mother yourself, then you're so much nicer to other people. You have so much more room in your soul. Okay, so I'm going to turn off the recording, and if there's any more questions, I would love to hear them. We can discuss it.